Theories are ever-changing. Ideas are malleable, and whenever presented with new information, we adjust and conform. Kingdom Hearts' back cover sparked a few of these theories, to say the least. It served as the long-awaited origin of the Keyblade War, and why the story as we know it today turned out the way it did. But one element was sure to sound the alerts for every fan who witnessed it. The gazing eye. You see, this was never new. This eye has been present in almost every single game ever since the series' conception. The Master's quote-unquote eye was placed into the Keyblade that was passed down throughout the ages so he could see the future and write the Book of Prophecies. So when fans put two and two together and discovered that there have been, indeed, multiple gazing eyes, it was natural to assume that the Master had multiple points of view of which to see the future from, giving birth to the multiple gazing eyes theory. This changed everything. From what was once to be taken at face value as a single, literal eyeball, I'll get to that soon, was now made to be a lot more cosmic and omnipotent. And then, it vanished. With Kingdom Hearts 3 and Dark Road homing in on the importance of No Name, paired with nothing coming to light on the topic, the theory as a whole was just thrown to the wayside and people stopped talking about it. As we all know, Union Cross ended at the end of May. Every now and again we had flashbacks, conversations of Luxu and the Master, or perhaps even Darkness, and in one of these cutscenes, the Master actually addressed one crucial detail about the use of the gazing eye when discussing the waypoint method of time travel.
No, the book doesn't cover much at all. Just what the Keyblade I gave to Luxu sees. And even then, only the bits important enough to jot down.
He can only see through the eye on Luxu's Keyblade specifically. This surely renders the multiple gazing eye theory debunked. But I'm bringing it back, because I think there's a lot more that needs to be unpacked here. Coincidences or minor details in Kingdom Hearts are very few and far between. In a series where making X's on a shirt an integral plot mechanic to bringing back the unsuspecting pods in Kingdom Hearts 1, it really seems like nothing is left to chance. Details are paramount, even to the point of going out of their way to change the zippers on the organization coats to better fit the lore. Yet the gazing eyes not only persist, but actually get tweaked slightly to better resemble each other. Even in Kingdom Hearts 3, some cutscenes are framed with the gazing eye in crystal clear view, as if they want you to notice it. In this scene, for example, Vanitas is stating the truth of his origins to Ventus as he flings the head of Voidgear right in our faces. If these eyes aren't important, if the Master can only indeed see out of No Name only, why do they all still exist? It's like the uncanny similarities in appearance between Dark Riku and Vanitas. It's undoubtedly linked somehow. So let's try and decipher these links. Let's try and briefly analyze the connections of these different Keyblades. On screen right now are all known instances of the gazing eye appearing throughout the series and the characters who wield them. First we have, of course, No Name, seemingly the catalyst for all of this. Then we have the Fourteller's Keyblades, Riku's Soul Eater and Way to Dawn. From Kingdom Hearts 1 compared all the way to now, this is one of the examples I mentioned earlier of the eye intentionally being altered to better resemble the original gazing eye even more. Also, even though not technically a Keyblade, Ansem in his final phase wields a staff, which is literally just two Soul Eaters stuck together. I felt like I needed to mention this in particular because it'll fall into my point at the end. Vanitas' Voidgear, Terra's Chaos Ripper. Then we have one of the most interesting Keyblades of all, Young Xehanort. We have the obvious time motif, with the hourglass and the clocks, even arguably the gears possibly representing gears of time, even more indicative in his boss arena. But if you look around it, we can see the same color palette and gothic structures seen on No Name, a reference to Luxu or even the Master of Masters' hold on his destiny. And surely, perhaps the most blatant reference of all, we have the head of the ram right at the top. Well, actually, it gets even more blatant. In Birth by Sleep Final Mix, we fight the mysterious figure, whom we should all know to be a time-traveling younger Xehanort. And when defeated, we get a Keyblade that looks almost identical to young Xehanort's. And the Keyblade's name? No Name. Yes, a second Keyblade called No Name. Not the original one, we all know mind you, but references don't get as clear-cut as this. The only difference is the absence of no-name influences. No gazing eye, no ram. And finally, we have Sora and Riku's End of Pain from Dream Drop Distance. These are all known instances of gazing eye appearances in the entire series thus far, and judging by what we have, two peculiar things stand out. The eyes only appear on keyblades or keychains. Even though one specifically is referred to as a gazing eye, they're never seen on any living thing. No buildings, images, or other inanimate objects. Granted, we do know that the Book of Prophecies contains pictures, and since we can't see every single page in the book, there is a chance that the gazing eye could be in there somewhere. But it's only ever seen existing attached to a keyblade, which leads me on to something a lot more revealing. Every single keyblade with a gazing eye is conspicuously linked to darkness, even more specifically the wielders. Riku, Terra, Xehanort, Vanitas, all wielders who possess these keyblades are either sided with darkness or have personally struggled with darkness in the past. In the finale of Union Cross, it was revealed that the Master of Masters and his students were planned to be vessels for the strongest 7 of the 13 sentient darknesses. My point is, where the eyes gaze, darkness lingers, without fail. And I think this is all too on the nose to be coincidental. Life beginning in darkness is one of the most prevalent themes throughout the entire series, from Kingdom Hearts 1 all the way to Kingdom Hearts 3.
All worlds begin in darkness, and all so end. The heart is no different.
The world began in darkness, and from that darkness came light.
This reigns true for Chirithy, who was created by the Master. The world was darkness, but the world I was born into was engulfed in a dazzling light. So with this knowledge, I'd like to present to you a few concepts. If the Master not only conjured Chirithy, but also materialized the Foreteller's Keyblades from their hearts, who were raised with the intent to be vessels for darkness, then he must have some sort of ability to craft objects and even living things out of darkness. In the Book of Prophecies, there's even a recipe to craft additional Dream Eaters, called pets, who require the fur of a Chirithy for their conception. He bestowed Lushu his mystic box, and I can only assume that he was the one who created the notorious black coat. I mean, let's take a step back and appreciate basic environmental storytelling for a second. His room in back cover is chock full of potions and books. It's plain to see that before being an ancient Keyblade master, before anything, he is first and foremost an artist, a brilliant scholar. Lushu's naivety. In pretty much every scene in both back cover and Union Cross with Lushu in it, he bombards the Master with an onslaught of questions, the manner of which seem honest and inquisitive, but kind of like a deer in headlights. A number of times he's shown to take the Master's words literally. For example, the Master states that the Keyblade he hands to Lushu is without a name. But Lushu is the one that actually names it no name, since it's only capitalized when he says it. Since we now know that Lushu is the traitor, the lost page that was given to Gula describing their actions can now be applied to him. Words of truth misunderstood as they explore the secrets of tomorrow. Ava also outright accuses him of interpreting the Master's words in his own way. So when he cringes in reflex to the revelation that the Master's eye is in the Keyblade, I'd write this off as mere comedic effect, and the Master responds with his own playful teasing like he's known to do. Pair this with what we've already explained throughout this video so far, and I think the likelihood of the gazing eye being his own physical eyeball is questionable to say the least. In a series where hearts are portrayed as metaphysical balls of light that can be shot out of your chest. Taking all of this into account, I deduce one of two possibilities. He either conjured the eye through magic and alchemy shenanigans to be his cosmic crystal ball, so to speak, or it never belonged to him in the first place. It belonged to the ancient darkness. If the Master is so determined on eradicating the darkness, then why is it his eye is seen so frequently on Keyblades that represent it? We never see the eye in conjunction with light, ever. This begs the question whether these other eyes were made in the image of the original, or if they're all part of a bigger conglomerate. In KH3 Remind, when Ven exclaims that Vanitas is a part of him, Vanitas cackles at the very notion and proceeds to inform that he's actually been hidden within him far longer than he knows.
I was just hidden deep inside of you for a really long time. All Xehanort did was tear me right out of you.
This all but confirms that Vanitas was shaped by the ancient darkness that sought refuge inside Ven, all the way back in Union Cross. So I find it especially suspicious that Vanitas would not only possess his own original Keyblade, but one with two gazing eyes on it. Darkness needs a form to be destroyed, ideally by being sealed inside of a person. Vanitas is extracted and given form externally by Xehanort, where he then takes on the likeliness of Sora as his heart facilitates Ven's. So that alone can easily justify why he has a Keyblade, because he is defined by both Sora and Ven. But if that were the case, why does he get an original Keyblade with gazing eyes? Aside from the keychains on the four-threaded Keyblades, the only gazing eye we know of, introduced prior to Vanitas's, is No Name. Why this eye? Why does this affiliation with darkness exist? Even if they do turn out to be copies of the original, is the Master responsible for their existence or not? If we look at his emblem closely, we can see two wings. One is more soft and majestic. It's angelic, but the other is jagged, lacking in elegance, clearly more demonic. As a character often perceived to be a true being of light among the fandom, as someone who wants to utterly destroy darkness, it's ironic how his symbol is representative of balance, of two sides. I wish I had a clear answer for where they all came from, but the link is definitely there. Where it follows is yet to be seen, but perhaps the Master isn't as light as we may think. As the old saying goes, keep your friends close, but your enemies even closer. Thanks for watching. So, I could have went on a tangent about darkness, both the concept and the ancient entities, and what I think they are, but we really don't have much, and I don't want to tread on fanfic theory here. Hey, look! Over there on the side of the screen, is that Tom Duke's basement, PJ Scott Blankenship, Chris Damasceno, and Caius Welsh? My Tier 3 Lord Kairu patrons, I see? Yeah, I have a Patreon now, by the way. Links are in the thing, you know how YouTube works. Okay, bye.